Here we are, guys. It is the final day of our 5 Days of December Book of Shadows challenge. I am so excited to see everything that everybody's coming up with. It's just, I love it, you guys. I love the seasons, and I love seeing people express what the seasons mean to them. So this is just heaven for me. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the last topic, and for the final topic, again, I decided to go with something kind of simple, but something that we can dig a lot deeper about, and that is the wreath. So we did kind of touch on the wreath a little bit yesterday when we talked about the evergreen, because wreaths are often made out of evergreen trees, or evergreen parts of trees. But why though, right? You know, why exactly, aside from the other reasons that we talked about for evergreens, why is it that we do the wreath? Well, flashback to yesterday's talk. A wreath in general was another thing that I was not allowed to have when I was growing up. I'm starting to sound like a little like this little sheltered person. I mean, I kind of was, guys. I was kind of raised in a cult, but that's okay because look how awesome I am now, yay. It's kind of like, it was all reverse psychology. If you don't want somebody to do something, don't deprive them of it. Let them make their own decision, because if you deprive them of it, they're just going to turn around and do exactly what you told them not to do. Ha. Okay, I'm done with their crazy ramble, but yeah, the wreath was kind of demonized in my childhood as well, for the same reasons that we kind of talked about yesterday with the evergreen around the winter solstice time. But the wreath was one that kind of slowly worked its way into my immediate family, more so than the symbol of the winter solstice tree, so to speak. I have a distinct memory from probably the middle of my childhood, when I think it wasn't even winter time necessarily. It was probably summer or spring or fall or something. And well, I mean, I guess if it's not winter, it's going to be summer, spring, or fall. Oh, Fura, I'm a little scatterbrained today. That's okay. But yeah, it was a different season, I think, and my mom and I were probably shopping. We might have been at like a craft store or something like that, and I remembered that we were admiring a wreath. And it was, of course, not a Christmas wreath, but it was that symbol of a circle of foliage of some kind. And I remember my mom, and this is a potent childhood memory, because it's one of those memories where I realized that like my parents don't actually know everything, even though they kind of act like they do sometimes. And it was kind of me getting to see my mom think outside the box and start to expand her own consciousness and awareness. And she was like, so I'm wondering if we could put a wreath on the door. I mean, it's not Christmas. It's just a circle, and I'm pretty sure that the symbol of the circle just means, eternity. Like, the symbol of a circle means continuity. So I wonder if we could put a wreath on the door. I think that particular time she decided not to get the wreath because she was probably still kind of teetering in that, like, am I gonna get in trouble with the man for this? And by the man, I kind of just mean, I guess I'm kind of thinking of the minister at our mosque, but it probably kind of just meant anybody who was in that community who would like see it and judge us and give us a stink about it. I guess she just didn't want to deal with that at that moment, and didn't feel like, pushing that, rocking the boat. But I think that eventually, down the line, I'm sure that my mom did end up putting other seasonal wreaths on the door. She probably would never do it around Christmas just because it still has that stigma. But, you know, the symbol of just a circlet of, not even just evergreen, but any plant on the door, I think that eventually kind of lost its demonization in my family, and now it's considered pretty normal. So, and granted, when I say my family, I'm pretty sure that my mom is the only one who still considers herself Muslim, and she's completely solitary now. She doesn't go to a mosque or anything. She kind of still dances to the beat of her own drum. So yeah, so I mean, I say all of that ramble to say that the symbol of the wreath for me does have a connotation of reconnecting with a concept of the whole universe, or like of nature, or of the human collective, outside of the context of just being limited by what society tells you it's supposed to mean. Because, you know, that memory of my mom being like, well, a circle means eternity. Is that so wrong? Or does that have to do with Christmas? Can't that just be something in general? And it's true. It's really true. The wreath does, she was right, the wreath does represent an eternal, continuous cycle. It just like the wheel of the year itself. The wheel of the year is that exact same concept. It's that concept of continuity, of you know, nature continuing its patterns. And especially now that you know, now that I am more of the nature-based spirituality path, and I don't necessarily believe in like a finite end to your life. I kind of think that energy just continues in different ways. It kind of continues to represent that for me too. Instead of it just being life and death, you know, birth, life, death, now it's more, you know, that life, death, rebirth cycle that continues throughout every macrocosm and microcosm of nature. And to take that a step further and to look at it with the symbolism of plants in the shape of that symbol, that is even more significant, because it represents that concept that nature always continues in some way. Even if you look at, you know, the ones that are not evergreen, even if you look at the ones that are autumn leaves in a circle on a wreath, that represents the concept that even though these things are dying back and fading, and this is going to be like a temporary decoration, it's that concept of, you know, in our perspective, things come to an end, but in the grand scheme of things, that energy is always recycled. And then to look at it in the context of the evergreen for this time of year, it just keeps continuing. It gets deeper and deeper into that same concept of continuity. Obviously, what we talked about yesterday was that the evergreen represents eternal life. It represents the fact that all things in nature, you know, even when things die back, there's always a way for it to come back somehow, whether it be the next generation of that plant or animal coming back, or in the case of, you know, perennial plants, whether it be that they actually just kind of shrink into their root and then grow back, or when it's the actual death of a particular organism, but it leaves behind something to be remembered that ends up continuing into the next cycle of whatever the energy ends up doing. So when you take that plant that represents eternity and you put it into the symbol of eternity, you get extra eternity. So it's just like a really powerful symbol. I actually love the symbol of the wreath. I think, to be really honest with you, even above using like pentacles and triquetras and things like that, I think that just the symbol of a circle, I think is probably one of the most powerful symbols in my path. Just because it's so simple, it's so universal, and you really just can't go wrong with it, you know? It really just, it represents that utmost just energy can't be created or destroyed, but will always be transformed concept. So yeah, that's kind of what the wreath means to me. And I always, this has nothing to do with anything, but I always think of, a couple of years ago I worked in a craft store, and I was really kind of getting fed up with all the Christmas shoppers and all of their excessive everything. And I was getting a little bit grumpy. And but then this Asian guy came through my line, and you could tell that English was his second language, but he spoke it pretty well. And he was buying, you know, holiday decorations, and I kind of got the impression that like he was a foreigner and Christmas wasn't necessarily that popular where he lived, so he was trying to like enjoy the culture of where he was visiting. So he was kind of doing the like, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. He was probably like trying to get a taste of the culture by like partaking in their celebrations. And I just remember I was ringing his stuff up, and he points to the wreath, and he's like, how do you say that word? Like, what do you call that? And I remembered kind of chuckling to myself, because my first instinct was to spell it. But then I was like, no, because spelling it is not going to help him. It's spelled really stupid. So I think I ended up writing it down for him and being like, wreath. It's pronounced wreath. I know, like, it looks confusing, but it's pronounced wreath. And he was like, oh, okay, thank you. I was confused. I was like, yeah. Yeah, that has nothing to do with anything, but it's always a funny memory that I think of when I think about wreaths, and how the English language is really freaking stupid. And like, it breaks all of its own rules, and somebody who English is not their first language would be confused when they see the word Wreath written down and wondering why people are pronouncing it wreath. So yeah, funny. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. I just want to wrap this one up on like a nice simple topic. It's just a circle. It's really simple. Simplest and one of the most early symbols ever, right? But what does the wreath mean to you? Again, does it go to a specific memory or chain of memories that you had about wreaths? Or, you know, can you look at it more just symbolically, like just the symbol of the circle and whatever plant is on it, and derive something from that? What does the wreath mean to you? So today is our last day of the 5 days of December challenge. This has been amazing. I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with for the final day. And stay tuned, because I actually have some more fun stuff for you guys as we are transitioning out of the 5 days of December challenge and really into the actual winter solstice time. So I will talk to you guys again really soon. Thank you so much for participating. It's really your energy and your contributions that make this whole thing worthwhile, and I'm loving seeing you guys connect with each other and you know, interact with each other's Book of Shadows pages and see what resonates with who, and it's just so much fun. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to talk to you guys again really soon. Until then, brightest blessings and blessed winter solstice, you guys. Bye-bye.